Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Zombies Love Bacon podcast. This is episode 26, season 2. Welcome in, everybody. It's been a crazy week. I know we said last week it was going to be crazy, but it wasn't as planned at all. So it's going to be an interesting podcast.
Completely derailed. All plans derailed. Backup plans, all derailed.
I'm joined by Shelby.
Hello.
Who just jumps right in there.
I just have a lot to say today.
Yeah, do you just? Oh, this is the Shelby podcast, and I'm just going to sit back. I'll shut up.
Oh, no. You need to talk. We both need to talk about this. We went through this traumatizing experience together.
All right, relax. All right, no one wasn't a fucking, I went to war or anything like that.
Well, it felt like.
So let's just get things straight off the bat. Let's see where we left off last week. With we had a big weekend. We knew next weekend was going to be a big weekend, and then it didn't really work out that way. I got quite sick during the week, and then I had to bail on going to the wedding because it was just going to be too much of a hassle traveling while not well.
Mm-hmm. Needed to keep you close to home as well.
So then the plan was to make our way to the CrunchyRoll Expo, the anime festival here in Melbourne. Yeah, look, I don't really know where to go to. Nothing went to plan. That's pretty much what it came down to. Before we get into that, I just want to say that we did go out to Fortress here in Melbourne on Thursday night. Had some food and some drinks and played some games and stuff, and it was really good. That is
I won a Wooloo.
Absolute positive.
Got a Wooloo out of a crane machine first try, and then I wasted more money on other crane machines.
So I'm going to call the podcast something Crunchyroll related, so you all know what we're going to talk about, which is Crunchyroll, and there's a lot to unpack here, and if you don't know anything about it, then you're in for a ride, but most people have probably heard something because it made national news. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to unpack, but this is the way I want to do it, because Shelby, I know you got a lot of things you want to say, and so on. And
yes.
There's a lot of shit out there, a lot of shit to navigate, a lot of shit to unpack, but what we're going to do is we're going to talk through our experience first, because we were there and we witnessed this and we know that it's fact and did in fact happen. Because there's a lot of shenanigans out there. A lot of people saying a lot of things, and I don't know how much of it's all legit. It might be exaggerated, who knows? But at least we can go through what we experienced. Mm-hmm. Then we can talk about the shit, all right?
Yes.
So for those who don't know what Crunchyroll Festival is, it's basically what's replacing what was MadFest or AnimeFest that we've had previous years before COVID. It's your typical Supernova Comic-Con style expo. You buy a ticket, you go into a hall, there's heaps of exhibitors, there's usually panels and some performances and so on. You spend all day walking around on your feet, paying overpriced money for food and going home with sore feet. You do that for a couple of days. That's the con experience. This one here is obviously by Crunchyroll. It's all about anime and anime-related stuff. It wasn't sold out for the longest time, but then when they announced Hololive were going to be there, which are some very, very popular VTubers, they're going to be there in the sense that they were going to VTube in, not there physically, obviously. It sold out. So it sold out probably a month before the actual thing came out. I brought our tickets the moment that they went on sale, because I had been pumped for Crunchyroll since they even mentioned it last year. Big fanboy moment. Really worked out well for me. So, fast forward to Saturday, first day of the con. Woke up, got ready, got an Uber, got to the exhibition centre here in Melbourne, same place to do PAX, very large venue. Yeah.
I think providing times will be helpful. So we got there at 20 past 10.
At the latest, like probably even earlier than that. But we got there and there was just people everywhere still. And I'm like, that's weird. Considering the con opens at 10, normally you get there and there's just this big snake going in the door and you just, follow it in. But this was a very long queue. So for those who can picture it, and I'm not really sure how long this is, but it's the exhibition center. It's a very long building. So this queue, when we got into the end of it, had already gone 2 lengths of the exhibition center, snaking back and forth. So it goes up one way, back the other, so on and so forth. So we were getting onto the end of the 3rd snake, so to speak. And while we were lined up there, and this, mind you, this is 10:30 in the morning. While we're lined up there, the snake extends for nearly 5 times out. Right? There would be thousands of people in this line, thousands, and the con's open, and it was about I'd say it was probably about 11 o'clock when we realized that we were no longer moving. And there's a few things we should mention just to clarify what happened. At about 11 o'clock, they came out and asked for anyone who's participating in cosplay competitions or parades to put their hand up, and they took them in immediately.
Which is like a first sign that things were going wrong.
Then they came out and they said, anyone who's got a wristband, you should be inside. Go inside. Which we learnt later was actually not the case, but, whatever. So they went and took all the people, their wristbands and so on, which made the line move a little bit, but not very far. And then the whispers started. And
I heard over the row next to us started talking.
Yeah, so the whispers were saying that the venue was at capacity and they couldn't let anyone else in, which is not a good sign when the con's been open for an hour and there's probably 2,000-3,000 people still outside in the rain and cold and wet and terrible. Anyway, it was about, 11:30 that the CrunchyRoll actually tweeted out, we are currently at venue capacity. We know lots of you are super excited and can't wait to get in, but we can only let people inside in small amounts from the line due to safety. If you wish to go get something to eat and come back later, we have plenty going on all day. And communication from CrunchyRoll. That was everything we got.
Mm-hmm. That was it.
So that's 11:30. It was about that time where I was like, dude, these lines aren't moving. We're not going to get in until 1. We're realistic.
Like, we need food. We need, legs are already tired.
So we've moved forward. We're in Snake 2 now. So it would, at about 12 o'clock, 12:30, we're in Snake 2. So that means there's one whole snake of the building, and then there's us, and then there's 4 others, and people still lining up, mind you, at midday for a con that has been now going for 2 hours, and there's been, there's been panels and concerts and stuff that none of us can go to, even though we're paid to be there. This is when the whispers of just get a fucking refund start coming out. Just refund your tickets. You can go to the website, refund your tickets. One of the volunteers who walked past said, yeah, you can just refund your tickets. And we asked them, and they said, how do you do that? And you said, to just go to the website, you can just hit refund. We'll get to some more details on that in a second. So that was the first sign that things were going bad, right? The next was there was someone who came past who's not a volunteer, who was staff. Now, it's wearing a staff badge. So there's volunteers who are just, I guess, regular Joes in orange shirts that say volunteers, and they're meant to control the line, but they'd pretty much given up at this point. So the staff member comes past, and he was on the phone. He was talking about how the event's been oversold, and he's trying to sort it out, and he's not sure what's going on. And he said to the person behind us, he said, well, have you guys got wristbands? And no, we haven't got wristbands. The people with wristbands got taken in. And he goes, no, they didn't. That's Chinese whispers. And they're like, no, we saw one of your guys come out and take all the people with wristbands. And we saw them too. They came out, said, if you got wristbands, put your hand up. They pulled them out of the line.
Door too.
Took them straight in. Yep. He's like, no, well, that's not happening. He said, you guys are in the right line. You guys basically have wristbands. You should have wristbands by now. And then he came to us, said the same thing to us. He said, we're going to get someone out here, get you guys wristbands. You'll be in there soon. Never saw him again. never got a wristband. So this is now 1 p.m. So we've been in line for 3 hours almost at this point. Line's not moving. We are in Snake 1. So we're at the very end of the snake. So it goes all the way down to the front of the building again, turns around, and then it goes up along the wall, along the window, to the door. So we're on the final straight.
We were closest to the building, but also we were at about door 1 because I also ducked inside to get snacks and came back out. And
So this is where. Okay, so then we're in this line. You duck in, get snacks because I'm like, this line's not. Then there's a volunteer that's coming through, and she's explaining to everyone. Well, she was kind of trying to explain to us, but she goes to us. Look, if everyone listens to me, this will get sorted out. But no one's listening to me. Was her attitude? That's how she introduced herself to us.
Yeah.
And we're like, weird. Okay. And then she's like, but you guys will get in, lines are, it's moving along slowly, blah, blah, blah. At this point, the line that could come back adjacent to us, so the behind us snake, row 2 is gone. So I say to her, hey, can you point out the line for me? She goes, yeah, it goes down here and then back up. And then I said, yeah, but it's not there. She looks around and there's this group of kids who basically have just turned around in that line and just jumped in front of our line. So it's like bolted onto in front of us, a whole queue.
Line 2, which was supposed to be facing the opposite direction to us, everyone in that line had rotated, was now facing the door.
We're effectively
and their
in front of
was
us.
Intersecting into ours to a point where I was standing directly next to, like, within like 10 centimeters of a guy who was now in the wrong line.
Yeah. So I pointed it out to the volunteer, and she's like, "Oh, you're right." Went up to him, didn't exactly hear what she said, but then she just left. And that was it. We would been there for 3.5 hours at this point, and now we had an entire line that was behind us in front of us. And was there anyone to help us or staff or anything? Nah, no one.
No staff. No.
But not only that, the other lines, they now don't connect to anything because the second line has become line 1, and line 1 is now behind line 2, which means line 3 goes into nothing. So there's like the rest of the line are just like, wow, we're not moving anywhere. It's because they're not connected to anything anymore. Everyone's just formed this big mob around the door, and we're basically just shoving in. And it's like, this is getting... And
people started to get heated.
There was people behind us who were like, fuck this fucking place. I'm going to fucking punch on and stuff like that. And we're like, well, this is going to get into a riot. Like, this is... like, it's getting violent.
I just wanted to leave at that point. And
so
you
this is
looked at me.
This is like 2:00, and I'm like, we have to go through, and there's another line in front of us now. It's going to be 3, maybe 4:00. The fucking con, I think, finishes at 6. Like the last possible things you could see were at 5 p.m. It's like, we're not getting in. We paid a ticket. We came on time, and we can't get in at all.
You were like,
and it's
do you want to go? And
if the staff were there and they're controlling the lines, we probably would have gotten in within half an hour, but they weren't. And it was just a free-for-all at this point. So then people were just literally just turning up now and just pushing. It was like going to Big Day Out and just fucking getting in the mosh pit and fearing that you don't get crushed to death, which happens. And there was no staff, there's nothing like that. And then yet the message they were giving was is that they can't let us in for safety when it was getting real unsafe outside. So we called it. We said, fuck this. It's not going to work. You know, Shelby was clearly not enjoying it. And it's at that point when even if we got inside, we're just so fucking drained from being in line for 4 hours. It's not happening. Like, it's not an enjoyable thing. And who wants to pay full price for a ticket to get into an event that's already over?
2 hours. Yeah, if we're lucky.
So, and like I said, we'll go over all the details in a sec, but this is just our experience. So then we came out, and as we're walking out, there are volunteers outside of the line. They're just hanging out in the grass, chatting to people. There was one guy at the end of the line, and he was like telling people that are lining up to the line that's not going anywhere, mind you. He's telling them it's 2 hour wait. You'll be inside. No worries. And I said, no, it's not 2 hours. He goes, well, there's no guarantees. It's 2 hours. And at that point, I just raised my voice so the line could hear it. And I was just like, you guys aren't getting in. There's no fucking way. We're at the front of the line, and we've been there for 4 hours. There's no way you're getting in at the end of the line, and it's going to be 2 hours. You're not getting
warning people. Yeah, warning everyone.
And the guy goes to me, oh, we've called security and the higher uppers to come in to fix everything. It's like, you don't fucking get it. I said, there's no fucking line anymore. It's just a free-for-all up there.
There's claim as well that he called security was coming to fix everything. Well, obviously, when we left, we were still observing what was happening via Twitter. That issue never got fixed.
No, it never happened. It never happened. And there was that news article as well from Kotaku, who just straight up said as soon as it started raining, the lines got even worse because everyone just jumped out of the rain and there was no lines anymore. It's just a huge mob. And we're not talking like 200, 300, 400 people. We're talking 2,000, 3,000 people. People out there. And like, I took a video and I put it on Twitter, and it looks like people are queuing up to get into PAX day one, but it's not. It's people trying to get into CrunchyRoll with 2 hours left in the day. Like, they'd been there all fucking day. So we went to the bar, had a beer. Well, I had a beer.
Had some burgers.
And got the fuck out of there. And like, I just emailed and said, just give me back my money. Like, even if I could get in today, which we're recording today on Sunday, even if I could get in today, it's not worth it. I paid for a weekend, and there's a lot of other things we've got to unpack as well. So
yeah,
the obvious thing is the venue was at capacity. We know that that's a fact, right? The venue was oversold as well, which is not unusual for an event to be oversold, but it was well oversold. Like,
it's like the difference between overselling 1,000 tickets and like 3,000 to 4,000.
So, and this is where we get into what we understand happened and what people are saying on Twitter and all this sort of stuff. But so basically, once the venue was at capacity, which was at 10:30 a.m., if you leave the venue, you have to go back into line. So once you get a wristband, there's another line inside to get into the venue. And when one person comes out, one person goes in. And then when that line gets short enough, they'll pull someone from outside to get a wristband and join that line inside.
Yeah. And people were afraid to do things like go and get food, go to the bathroom. People who were running artist alley tables were afraid to take a break and leave the venue. People didn't want to leave to go to like fan meetups.
You had to get back in line, and there was no guarantee that you were getting back in.
So
that means,
sorry.
Yeah, just hang on, slow down. So that means So what that means is that anyone who left the venue couldn't get back in, which means effectively if you brought a ticket to attend the con, you get a ticket to enter the venue, and then if you left, then you either had to line up or go home. So then what they were expecting or what they were hoping for, I guess, was that people would come in, cut a lap, and then leave. So someone from outside can come in, cut a lap, and then leave. Cons don't work like that. Cons it was from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. and I expected everyone to be there from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. effectively. So, yeah, that alone caused a lot of people to be like, fuck this, I'm not going.
There's a good example of this. So there was a My Hero Academia fan meetup that occurred outside the venue, but like inside the hallway that connects like the outside to the venue itself. So the no-go zone. If you go into that zone, you can't go back in. And the CrunchyRoll staff apparently crashed this meetup and took photos of people having fun. And like, you know, there was a very small group of fans there, but there was actually a lot more My Hero Academia cosplays and stuff outside still and waiting, and who obviously couldn't get in for this. The thing is that they posted these photos on their Twitter, the official Twitter, and then somebody in the photos quote tweeted them and said, "I'm in these photos, and the fact that CRX staff had to crash our meetup in order to get photos of people having fun really goes to show how shit their con was. Half the people in these photos never even managed to get into the con."
Yeah. There was also someone else who commented on that photo saying, "I was in the con, I had to come out to join this meetup and take a photo, and now I can't get back in."
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was also the same with like VIP holders. They couldn't get in as well. So it didn't even matter if you paid the $200 and something for a VIP or whatever it was. That didn't guarantee you entry. You just got in line with the other wristbands. But, you know, again, I'm not sure exactly how that works or whatever. Now, keep in mind, we are talking about the Saturday in particular, and we are recording this on Sunday. We'll get to Sunday in a second. So Let's start unpacking the things that were wrong. So the venue capacity thing. Now, the rumor goes that the capacity was meant to be 8,000, and then, that's how many tickets they sold. And like I said, none of this is confirmed. And the reason why none of this is confirmed is because CrunchyRoll haven't commented or done anything to communicate what happened at all. So this is all that we know is venue capacity. That's the only official thing, right? Everything else is hearsay. I heard someone say this, or staff told me this, and we've already said that, you know, both staff and volunteers were contradicting themselves the day anyway. So who knows? So they say that they sold 8,000 tickets. They say that the venue capacity was actually 5,000. And they were only meant to sell 4,000 tickets to the general public, because then obviously exhibitors, guests, etc. would make up that additional 1,000 people throughout the day or whatever. So they were only meant to sell 4,000 per day, and instead they did 8,000 per day instead of 8,000 for the weekend. That was the original rumor. Then we heard from a volunteer, and we heard on Twitter as well, that they said that they had their allocation reduced, and that was due to a fire marshal's review of the site the day of. So they went in planning to fit 8,000 people, and then the fire marshal's like, hell no, for safety reasons it's got to be 5 or 4 or whatever it ended up being, right? Again, the sort of Chinese whispers or, you know, a bit of hearsay as to whether or not that happened. And it's kind of hard to believe that would be such a dramatic thing, considering the amount of events that have the same thing done and have no issues.
Same floor space.
Yeah. And the people that did make it in did say, you know, it was pretty full. Like, there was a lot of people in there. Like, would it fit 3,000 more people in it? Probably not. So maybe, you know, they oversold. I think the more likely thing is they didn't expect everyone to turn up at the same time and come in throughout the day at the same time. Normally, like with an event like that, like things like PAX and stuff like that, if the venue capacity's, you know, 5,000, they'll sell 6,000 tickets because they know that people come and go, people don't turn up, etc. Or particularly like in PAX, you go to panels and other things like that, which are outside the venue. So, you know, people are free roaming. But this is, you got to understand, this was cold, wet, and windy. No one was hanging out outside. But no one could get in to begin with. So it wasn't that a normal balance of cons where people go in, they have a look around, then they come out, get some food, go out into the grass and whatever. There was none of that happening. Everyone went in, heard that they couldn't get out or get back in after they get in there, and then they went. nope, I'm not leaving.
Mhm.
And they stayed in there. So as to the cause of the venue capacity, we're not really sure. Like no one, like I said, Crunchyroll's not confirmed anything. I think it's probably a bit of everything. I think it's probably the fact that they oversold the tickets. Someone didn't quite do the maths. More people turned up than they thought it would be, and the fire inspection said, no, you're not going to fit as many people as you'd like in here. I think it's probably all that, but it all comes down to poor management, bottom line.
Speaking of poor management, I want to talk about a couple of things inside the con that I've heard about. And these are things that I've heard about like from a lot of people, particularly the people in the Artist Alley. The Artist Alley's had a lot of problems. Apparently they had some issues with not getting the correct like numbers for their tables, and a lot of them were placed really close to the Crunchyroll stage, which is where they do a lot of their presentations and things throughout the day. And allegedly, it was 8 hours straight of blasting anime music above the legal decibel limit at the Artist Alley, to a point where artists who were sitting in their booths were not getting enough sales because people were staying away from the area the closer to the stage they were, but people were sitting in their booths with their hands over their ears just trying to cope with the noise and having meltdowns. That's, I guess, one thing. And like another thing, of course, is they couldn't leave to go and have a break or anything to come back to their booth because of all the issues. But also, and I know we're going to touch on today, shortly, but as of this morning, they were also told, hey guys, we're opening the doors 30 minutes early to let people in, whilst the exhibitors weren't even set up yet.
Right.
So the artists have had a shit time, really shit time. A bunch of other things have apparently happened, but those are like the concrete ones that I've seen a lot of.
So I just did a quick little calculation, little measurement here for those who wanting to know the length of the exhibition centre. So therefore, the length of the line 5 times over, 220 metres. That's over a kilometre long line.
Pretty nuts.
The entire day. So it's kind of wild. So so we've gone through the capacity thing. That's fine. The wristband thing, I don't know what was going on with that. They were letting people in with wristbands, and then they were telling people that have wristbands to go straight in, and then at about 3:30, 4 o'clock-ish, they no more wristbands. If you haven't got one, you're not getting in.
Well, that's the thing as well with the wristbands. And what's interesting to me is when we talk about the fire marshal may have reduced capacity. If that was the case, why didn't they have enough wristbands regardless? Apparently they physically ran out of wristbands to give people.
What's Saturday wristbands?
Saturday wristbands, which is kind of strange because why wouldn't you have enough wristbands for the amount of tickets that you've sold?
Again,
or at least it doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense.
So there's that. What they basically said, they came out and said was, okay, well, if you haven't scanned your ticket in and you don't scan it in on Sunday, so therefore you don't attend the event and you didn't get a wristband, you get a refund, automatic, within 7 days. Fine. I mean, that's a good start, but what about the people that travelled to be there? What about the people that did get a wristband and then stood in line for 6 hours of their day? What sort of compensation is offered? No communication as to that. It's nothing offered for that at all. And I got to say, let's go lenient and say it was 2,000 people outside. All right, probably 300 cosplayers, maybe more. These are people that have gone and paid money to dress up and make outfits and have travelled in to go to this con in outfits just outside and ignored. And look, there was no staff and no communication. So apparently, a guy came out with a little hip speaker headphone thing and made an announcement of the refunds, and someone filmed it, put it on Twitter. Again, Crunchyroll said nothing at this point. It was just radio silence for them. This was people in the line communicating to people in the line. That was the only way we're getting any information. And
on Twitter, there was one speak of refund from them in the replies of their original thing, but it was to a guy who was talking about how he'd also purchased a signing token to get his stuff signed by somebody, obviously who he admires, and he was stuck in line. He can't go to the signing.
And this is the other thing as well. They sold signing tokens that people couldn't get to because they're in the line, and then there was people that were inside that couldn't get signing tokens because they've sold out.
And apparently people in queue to get their stuff signed were then suddenly alerted that there was extra fees for getting personal items signed, which they were never told about beforehand. So we're saying $50 to $90 I've heard on top of their original signing token, which is bonkers that they weren't told in advance.
So people started getting refunds. Just go to the website, hit refund, no problems. One problem, put them straight back into the pool so they can be sold again. So all of a sudden, the oversold event has tickets for sale again. And oh boy, did social media jump on that one real quick. And like we looked, it's legit. It's not like they're making it up. There was VIP passes were the only thing still sold out. Saturday, Sunday, and weekend passes went back up for sale. Their solution to this was to remove the refund button, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So you could no longer refund your tickets.
Then apparently they started doing refunds inside at the info booth, but that made the line to get refunds, and also it was the same line to get a wristband, got longer.
Yes. So at this point, and this is where we start to get into territory of a bit of hearsay, and we're not really sure what happened. So part of what happened at this point is we understand volunteers left, either just stopped doing what they were meant to be doing, gone and just fucking chilled out with their mates or whatever, or just straight up said, fuck this shit, and left the thing. Mm-hmm. So there was a few volunteers going around claiming that they're very short-staffed, they don't have enough people to deal with all this, it's not going to happen, blah, blah, blah. You know, and there was people, like, we walked past, when we left, there was a big group of 5 volunteers just out the front on the steps, just doing nothing. Like, it was so frustrating because like those 5 people could go and fix the line, and then people would be not leaving; they'd be going in and having a good time, but clearly not. So yeah, so there was that. So they were selling tickets to the oversold event, and staff were just stretched thin at this point. And look, and there was reports of people being like, you know, this staff just standing around chilling when they could be helping. Staff who don't want to help or refusing to help. There's people saying that, you know, they were getting abused by staff, and then other people saying that staff were getting abused by patrons. I mean, that was definitely happening. Because like I said, it got tense out there. And I even tweeted at their account, said, yeah, guys, it's getting fucking sketchy out here. It's going to be a riot. And this is another thing that we heard, which it's sort of hard to know if it happened or not, but apparently there was an altercation, like a fist fight that broke out in the line. In which
between a volunteer and a guest.
Apparently. In which someone got bitten. So there was reports of this. Then there was also people taking pictures of paramedics that showed up as well. But that's like all the information that you can see. And you just have to listen
the paramedics like could have easily been for the cheerleading competition next door, because that's worth mentioning. There was a cheerleading competition happening in the adjacent halls.
Yeah, they didn't have any lines though. They got in fine.
No, they were fine.
But, I mean, it could have just been that the paramedics had to go help because there was a number of people that were having either panic attacks or anxieties or breakdowns.
Asthma attacks,
passed out. Like, their first aid people had a lot of people passing through the first aid area. Not only that, it's like anime is the same as PAX, right? We're a special breed. You know, a lot of our guys are broken.
We're delicate people.
They're delicate people. You know, they're not built to go in lines in the elements, be close to that many people. They're not. You know, you really need to look after them, and that's PAX understands this. I just don't understand how CrunchyRoll got it so fucking wrong at this point.
It's just as well, like with how it got quite tense. Apparently, after we left, this is another thing that's hearsay. We weren't here to witness this, but people started to chant riot, and were threatening to just burst the doors and get in. Which there was a lot of
that's believable.
About that. I believe that. I think people definitely mob mentality would start chanting together.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that were very upset in general and just getting real upset. And the thing is that the communication was zero. So there was people rocking up at 3 p.m. still thinking they were going to getting in line because the volunteers at the back are like, yeah, you'll probably get in. It's like, no.
Yeah. And like this is why we were like tweeting and stuff as well, because I think if you're at an event and you have the ability to say something and add to a voice online to hopefully get to the people who haven't arrived yet so they know what's going on, which I think it did definitely help. And one thing as well, with everything that happened, it's just, I just don't understand how they got it so wrong, considering that this also was an expo that took over from an existing expo.
Well, I went to the previous expo, and let me explain a couple of things that are very different. Right. First of all, it wasn't in the expo hall that we're in. Right. Yeah. There's one right down the very end. So there's the what do they call it? The auditorium, where they do like concerts and stuff like that. They do a lot of big like speaking events and stuff there. So around the other side of that, there's another expo room. It's about the same size, right? So last time they used that, which meant that they were away from everyone. Like they were, use the other entrance at the other end of it. And then all their panels and concerts were actually in the auditorium. Where in this one, everything was in one room. You had to be in or out. That's it. Where at the other time, it was like everyone's in the con area or they're going to a concert or a screening or anything like that. And if they're doing that, they're not in the con area. They're in the auditorium.
Yeah. That's
how they ran it the previous couple of years. And like you literally leave the con and go line up for an hour to get into one of these, screenings or whatever. But that's 300-400 people no longer in the con.
It's a good use of space as well. Like you got to have different rooms.
Where
I think
now, like and like if you wanted to go in and see a panel, you needed to get into that con, which means that if it's at capacity and everyone's refusing to leave, you ain't getting in.
Yeah.
So that was just again another silly.
One of the big slaps in the face as well is after they did that one tweet saying we're at capacity, they continued to tweet like happy things happening inside. And taking photos of things like that My Hero Academia meet, but like everything being like, hey guys, look at this cool stuff happening right now, like exclusive event. Oh wait, you can, and everyone in the comments is like, I can't get in.
That was the social media people doing their default job, right?
But they just need to stop doing that. Like,
no, someone else is like, there's meant to be a manager that comes in who's meant to be the events manager, right? Who comes in and says, yo, we need to be tweeting this and this now. I need you to communicate this. I feel like whoever their events manager was sleeping, was probably not even there. It was just there was no one taking charge and there was no one trying to fix anything. It was just like, it is what it is. Let's just go through the day and hope for the best. And there wasn't like the next communication came at 7 p.m. or something like that.
Yes.
And it was like, yo, if you don't want to come tomorrow, you can get a refund. It might be just as bad as today.
And that tweet was very much like, we hope you don't come so that other people can come. Really?
Yep.
It was a warning to stay away.
And look, we're well and truly gotten out at this point. Like I said before, it's made national news. Both Channel 9 and Channel 7 here in Australia, free-to-air TV, most popular news. They weren't covering, weebs get massive expo, blah, blah, blah. They were saying angry patrons waited outside for hours.
I've got the two taglines. So Channel 7 said, convention headache, event grapples with lengthy queues, angry ticket holders. And the other one was anime anger. Fans waited 5 hours to enter a ticketed event. So it's all very mongoose.
Yeah.
All questionable.
It was bad. I don't know. What other things did we hear that went horribly wrong for that event?
I think we've covered a lot of it. Let me see. I've got the list here. The communicating tomorrow. I think we hit all of the Saturday points have been hit. Oh no, there was one more. Merchants, so exhibitors and artist alley people were showed up the night before to find their stalls hadn't even been built yet for them to set up in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So it's hard to say that it's probably the worst con I've ever been to, because how can you say you went there if you didn't get in?
Yeah, true.
I want to go over the worst con that I have actually been into. And there's been some pretty subpar basic shit. Like if you're turning up to fucking Collingwood Town Hall for an expo, there's an expectation there, right? It's so you don't judge that as harshly as CrunchyRoll being a international company, entertainment company at that, and running it. There's a certain expectation. So anyway, I want to talk about RTX. Now, for those who, first of all, if you listen to podcasts, you know what Roosterteeth is, because Roosterteeth is like the longest running podcast, second, third longest running. I can't remember anymore. Very popular, and they have a very popular expo in Texas, where they're all from. And they decided to branch out, and they were going to do RTX Australia, which was going to be based in Sydney. So that was pretty good start. Sydney Australians like them, so that was really good. I looked this up, and there's a Kotaku article about this as well. The title goes, RTX Australia was humid, sweaty, and frustrating. That's a good start. Let me paint you a picture. It's basically the same thing. It's everything RTX, Roosterteeth related. So that's, Funhouse and Achievement Hunter and, there was things like Couch Hop and stuff like that back then. They were also doing Laser Team premiere that year as well. Red versus Blue, Ruby, etc., etc. So they hired out this venue in Sydney, which was all cool and whatever, but had no air conditioning, like none. And it was a stinking hot day. Stinking hot and humid day, if I remember rightly. And that's like the worst possible thing you can have for any sort of expo. And everyone was sweating, like drenched, like looked like they were being out in the rain, kind of drenched, and stank. And like we tried, we really tried to like go there and, you know, do everything. The difference there is they knew they fucked up almost immediately, right? And they started communicating like, yo, we know it's hot. We're getting air conditioners, as many as we can. And then people would rock up with these portable air cons, like these industrial portable air cons, and they just put them fucking everywhere. And they tried to cool the place down. Then they had not enough food trucks, and then more food trucks popped up and stuff like that. And they tried to make that better. It was just poorly executed, full stop. And a lot of it came from the fact that they thought it was going to be a small event. First of all, you know, they're international brand, and they didn't think, you know, Australians would be that interested in whatever. But yeah, no, we all got there. I think we had to line up pretty long from memory, but it wasn't you know, it wasn't Crunchyroll long, but it was long. But yeah, I went and I lined up and I went in, and I remember that like the panel rooms were air conditioned. So I went and saw so many panels, and I spent less time like meeting people and talking to people because everyone stank basically. And they communicated it, and they dealt with it, and they fixed it. They did as much as they could. And then they straight up said at the end of the show, like, we're not going back here. This is not the venue for us in the future. We need air conditioning, full stop, you know. And apparently the plan was to be at the International Convention Centre in Sydney Harbour, but that wasn't finished at the time. They took the second choice, which was a bad choice. When they eventually came back with the following year, we were in the exhibition centre fully with air conditioning, and their tagline was, now with air conditioning. And I remember they had a panel where they said, you know, who came last time and who hated it. And like they just made a big joke about it and said, you know, we fixed all that, blah, blah, blah. But I remembered something about this whole thing because the second event was also had some controversy, which was kind of funny, but kind of not. So anyway, I remembered from the second thing, which is something that I had kind of pushed out of my memory. But there was some controversy, which day one, totally fine. Everyone got in and, you know, new expo center. Like if you've ever been to the expo center in Sydney, it's pretty fucking schmick. Then there was rumors that the next day lines were going to be longer and there was going to be some issues, and they had to implement bag checks. The reason for this is there was a panel that Achievement Hunter had done in which they normally like get drunk, and they were like, yo, we can't get drunk because we're here, and you know, there's not allowed to be alcohol, stuff like that. And someone from the crowd's like, I've got alcohol for you, and then they gave them some beers or a flask, I think, from memory.
Oh, now they had to check everyone.
Now they had to check everyone's bag. So the next day we had like twice as long waits to get into the convention because they had to check every single bag for forbidden alcohol because one kid threw a flask up on stage.
That's so annoying.
So dumb.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
RTX things.
I think they lasted three years. I think they did in Sydney, and then they pulled the pin because it was just too hard, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, in hindsight, I suppose. Covering off that, and there was a lot of convention going back to CrunchyRoll. There's a lot of comparisons to TanaCon and DashCon, Fire Festival.
Yeah.
The problem was the organization and the management of obviously the ticket selling, getting people into the venue, and B, just like the line management and like getting people into the venue, and just like staff in general. Like there was just no management there. I feel like if they could have got everyone into the building, then the things like the noise and stuff like that, they're minor stuff that can be pretty well dealt with. Like, you know, that happens at most cons.
Well, I mean, we say that, but apparently nobody knew how to turn down the volume.
Yeah, but also nobody was able to deal with that problem because they were dealing with the problem of there was 3,000 people about to knock down their door.
Yeah, I guess.
You know, there's small problems, you know, versus the big problems. So to combat this, there's two things. There's what the patrons have done, which is basically they started lining up at 5 a.m. this morning, guarantee entry, and they, you know, there was a considerable line. They then opened up one of the parts of the expo into a line room, so they didn't have to line up outside in the cold for once. They put people in single file lines rather than snakes that can merge together, and they got everyone their wristbands so they were ready to run in as soon as the doors open. This is today, to Sundays. And from there, they pulled everyone into the venue, and as more people turned up, they get into the lines, they pull more people in, and from all accounts, by 11 a.m., 12 o'clock, they were a steady flow of people turn up. You wait maximum half an hour, and you can get into the venue.
Yep.
So much better. But also, a lot of people just fucking gave up from yesterday. So their attendance is going to be a lot lower, and
it's not to say like there was nothing that went wrong today. Apparently there was a few things inside, but like that's normal for cons. My favorite thing today though is probably because of the comparisons to DashCon, which has an infamous ball pit story, and you should definitely look it up. I think you said Internet Historian have a good video about DashCon,
and many others.
Yes, look it up. But anyway, for those who do know, there was a ball pit that was very infamous. So multiple people, and I've seen 3 so far, brought small ball pits with them to CRX.
They combined them.
Yeah, they did. There was definitely a few. There was one big one that was just like a big wooden box that was just full of balls, and everyone was like, "We get an extra hour in the ball pit if you came here yesterday."
Yeah.
So
plus one on they got in, plus one for the people turning up and sort of having a bit of a laugh about it and whatever else. Great, no problems. And look, the people got in. The Hololive event was today. Most people got to see it. Like, not many people complained about that. The audio had been put to a reasonable level. So people got in. It was good from that aspect. But obviously, there's a lot of people that didn't turn up. A lot of people did, wanted their money back, whatever. A lot of artists that are sort of now saying, we missed out on a lot of business because, people just couldn't get into Artist Alley. But they sorted out a lot of their problems overnight.
Yes.
That's a plus. Yeah. The only kind of negative I'd put is they still didn't address anything. CrunchyRoll didn't tweet anything. They just started tweeting how great everything is once the line had dissipated completely, which was about 2 p.m. after the Hololive stuff.
Yeah, I feel like one of the worst things you can do as like a social media manager is to refuse to acknowledge, or there was not even like a sorry. Like they could have written a nice apology to people.
It wasn't even like, hey guys, lines are forming today, just like you start communicating early. Hey guys, if you're turning up, 8 a.m. they could have tweeted out saying, hey, if you're turning up, there's already a line. You still get in, but you probably want to get here on time if you want to get in before these panels. Communication. Problem is too much. Not enough communication. It's, but look, if you're going to be realistic, if you're rocking up at 5 a.m., you're still waiting 5 hours to get into the con. You just get to get in when it starts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to talk like I know how to run events and stuff like that, but like if that was me, I would have had the queue room. Like I'm thinking like PAX 1, like even PAX, the last PAX we had. Remember they had the fucking Doom trailer playing on the walls?
Yeah, and the one before was the Fallout 76 trailer. Before
they had the Fallout 76 trailer, and they were giving people.
Everyone was singing constantly.
Yeah, everyone was doing Country Road. Like you put the animals, aka the patrons, in a room and tell them to wait. If you give them nothing to do, they're going to fucking create their own shit, and it's not going to necessarily be in your favor. They were
throwing beach balls at us. We couldn't do anything. We were distracted by beach balls. It's not hard.
Put a big fucking screen up there and put some fucking Naruto playing or something like that. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Like, just entertain them. Say, hey, you need to get here early because we need to, you need to get in early if you want to get into these panels early. That's cool. We got a fucking room with entertainment in there. I can put a ball pit in there for all I care. Just something like that. I think that's where really the shit kind of fell down, was not necessarily that they oversold it. That shit happens. They definitely oversold it too much. But the thing was that they had 3,000 people that had paid for a ticket standing outside in the cold and forgotten about. I think that's the worst part.
Yeah.
They weren't out there communicating. They weren't helping people in the lines. They weren't like getting people drinks or, anything like that. Like they could have literally just had, remember PAX, they used to have the cookie, the charity cookie people?
Yeah, I love
They go past and they're like, you want a cookie for $1? It's like, fucking oath I want a cookie for $1.
I would have given them $5.
It's like, do you want to buy a pin? It's like, I'll buy a fucking pin.
It does bring me back to a good tweet I saw. It was just like, shout out to the furry who was handing out snacks in the CRX line, like going up and down the line. Yeah. I was like, fucking oath, let's go.
Yeah.
Get people out there.
Look, at the end of the day, if everyone was a stand-up citizen, everyone would have just lined up single filed and taken turns and made it work and stuff like that. But there's events like this, there's kids and stuff there. They're all little shitheads and they fucking push lines and whatever. And without someone there to keep the order, like I said, they just do their own thing and do every man for themselves, and that becomes a bit of a mess. So
yes.
But there was certainly a lot of people that were doing their best to make the best of a bad situation. Like for me, like I don't. It's not a big deal for me. I mean, I was going to go in, take some pictures, nerd out on some fucking anime stuff. Really, like, probably buy some more shirts and stuff like that. Buy some clothes, some prints, some key rings, artist alley shit.
Enter some competitions.
Normally go around, like I try and make an effort to like go around to the artist alley stuff and like shout out the artists and stuff like that, and like use my platform, as big or as small as you may perceive it to be, for some kind of good in pushing what are creatives doing what they are passionate about. And the downside was that all these artists, all these cosplayers, all this stuff just had this whole negative light thrown on it, which was fuck Crunchyroll, fuck their fucking lines, it's fucked. And I just feel bad for the creatives that were, this was their event. PAX is for the gamers, this is for the weeboos. And like, yes, they can intersect, but it's weebies going to PAX. They'll never feel as at home as they would in an audience from Crunchyroll. So,
yeah, it's like most of the cosplayers were anime cosplays, but you see like there was like one Stormtrooper and like one Cult of the Lamb cosplay. Like there's some crossover, but definitely not fully.
Yeah. So I don't know. I honestly, like, Crunchyroll's a big company. They'll do it again. Crunchyroll Festival will happen again. Expo will happen again. Will they learn from it? Probably. Yeah. Will they get less people support it up front? Probably. I think, unfortunately, it's gonna get that tarnish now of, hey, these guys fucked us last time.
Yeah.
And when they come out and they're going to be like, yo, get hyped for Crunchyroll Expo, they're going to be like, hey, man, you're going to let us in this fucking time? That's the response they're going to get.
Yes, exactly. I mean, there was a lot of issues with the first Oz Comic Con in Melbourne, which I went to, which I have some great stories about. It was just a very overcapacity. Like, you couldn't breathe in that hall. Burning hot as well. I was in full cosplay because back then I did cosplay. I think it was 2012, if I remember correctly. To a point where I was like on the floor having a panic attack because I don't like being surrounded by so many people in cosplay, and people were just taking photos of me. Like, oh my God, person in cosplay, take a picture. Like, it was a bad time, and there was a lot of organizational issues with that con as well. But also, they have learned from it though.
Yeah, also back then, like, I remember you go to cons like that, you couldn't get internet access on your phone because the reception was so bad, and there was too many people in one area. So you'd literally, once you're in the con, no social media. You'd only text your mates the old school way. That was the only way to get around. And so even then, when I would trying to communicate, like social media was trying to communicate and stuff like that, it was a pain in the ass. The same thing with the first PAX. They had PAX Australia Twitter account, then they had PAX Lines Australia, which all they did was be like, yo, this line for this panel's at 50%, this line for that panel's 20%, this line is full, don't bother coming. And they actually, for the first PAX, it was in the showgrounds.
Yes.
And it was meant to be like an outdoor thing. They had food trucks and outdoor eating areas. And I remember they had like porta potties and stuff like that outside of it. Poured rain, freezing cold. It was in fucking...
Got rained out. You cannot rely on Melbourne weather.
And like it got to the point where all the walkways had to like cover over the sides so rain wouldn't just blow through it and just drench everyone, which meant we're all like in pipes essentially between the buildings. And it was a fucking nightmare. Like you couldn't go, you had to go run out into the rain to get food and stuff like that. And it was just shit. And I remember that what they did was because they couldn't line people up because they'd line up in the walkways and then no one could fucking walk anymore. So they went to the line room and it was like this whole other shed that was down the other end. And you'd go there and you'd line up for your panel that might be 3-4 buildings across, but you'd line up in the line room. And then when the line was full, they say, okay, line's full, that's it. And then once the panel was about to start, they would march us down like fucking we're in high school or freaking primary school, whatever. Follow the teacher, single file, and walk down the corridor. Yeah, essentially, right? And then they just file us into the room, sit us in our seats. So they just treated us like fucking out. But you know what? Everyone cooperated because everyone wanted to get the shit done.
Yeah.
And it kind of worked, and it was fine. But I do remember I did Friday, Saturday, and I died Sunday. And I was just like, nah, I'm not going back. it was just fucking drenched and cold and sore and just over it. And when they said, "Oh, this was really popular, and we're going to go to the exhibition center next year," we're like, "Hell, fucking yes!" And also, they didn't do it in the middle of winter. That was the first one was in the middle of winter.
Oh, well, there you go. That's why, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why most conventions happen around here in like the spring, 100%. You know, before the hot weather comes in. But I guess like let's talk reviewing Melbourne Gamer Season, as I've been calling it so far. DreamHack was great.
Yeah, we talked about DreamHack on the thing, but I just want to say, DreamHack, there was at no point where we were required to be in someone else's personal space.
Yeah, we were never in a line. Well, we were only in a line when we were doing like the crane machines at the.
But even then, like you didn't have to be in that personal space.
No, not at all. Like
you were never crammed. You were never forced into line. There was never
even getting lunch. Like was easy.
We got a table.
We got a table outside.
We got food immediately. Sat down. We went into the gamer bar. It was fucking fine. Any events, like any of the venues, like any of the finals or anything like that, there's plenty of seats. Just walk in, sit down. It was all spread out. Signage.
So we can recommend DreamHack next year.
They could almost do AnimeFest at fucking Olympic Park, and it would probably be better.
Probably. You could have massive screenings of all different like anime.
You could just put the screenings in the
panels in the
panels. They've got panel rooms that they didn't even open up for fucking DreamHack for us.
But yeah, so reviewing it so far, DreamHack good, CrunchyRoll bad, PAX probably going to be good. So we'll get in there.
Yeah,
in a few weeks.
PAX is going to be busy.
Yes.
I'm trying my hardest not to double, triple book myself. But like I said at the start of the podcast, I had a plan. It got changed. This weekend was going to be nuts. That got changed. I thought I was going to be going to a wedding and CrunchyRoll. I went to neither. Fuck. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
We did end up on the side of the road at 10 p.m. last night eating crepes from a little crepe van. So
yes,
little booth. So we had a good time.
Yeah, we did. We made the most of it. We went out and had post food and drinks and stuff like that, which was good. And like I said, Fortress was really good. Absolutely recommend getting a gaming booth there and sitting there. We're playing some game. I don't remember what it was called.
We were playing
Required Cooperation, and that just wasn't working for us.
We were playing Stick Fight. Stick Fight was great. We went on that for hundreds of levels, and the other one was Heave Ho.
Yep,
I think
where I just heave hoed myself to the end and then sabotaged everyone.
Yes, you did. It was awful.
It was great. But yeah, so that's the Crunchyroll debacle, and I don't want to be like, yo, that fucking shit, fuck those guys, blah blah blah. I mean, people have bad days. It's fine. Unfortunately, when you work in events, your bad days are very public. My only advice would be to communicate. People will be understanding if you talk to them, but if you don't talk, people make their own stories and their own narratives up, and that's worse.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. If you oversold tickets, you oversold tickets. Just say that. I mean, I can understand there's a legality, and you don't want people fucking, being like, I'm gonna fucking sue you. You fucked up. I mean,
yeah, it didn't stop people anyway. Everyone was already threatening legal action.
Yeah, I mean, you're just better just to fucking own up and go, all right, we fucked up. This is it. Moving on. Just be honest with people. Yeah. I think that's the best thing you can do. Yeah. In these sort of situations. I left and I was upset that I didn't get to go, but I didn't want to go to that festival. I wanted to go to the festival that I was originally sold. Go in, do all these stuff, see all these panels, do all that sort of stuff. That wasn't there. There was a line, there was a get in, get crammed, don't get to do all the stuff you want to do. That was the options. So I wasn't upset that I didn't get to go to the festival that happened. I was upset that I didn't get to go to the festival that they originally advertised.
Yes, exactly. That's it.
That's the bottom line. And we could have gone today and maybe gotten in, but it's I paid for a weekend. I intended to be there for whole days. I didn't want to go in, then have to leave so I make room for someone else to come in. I didn't want to do any of that.
Yep. If we go in today, we'd only get a partial refund.
Even well. I don't even give a shit about the refund. I think we spent more on Ubers than we did on the whole tickets. It's just the whole the thing is that you buy a ticket, you want to go to the event.
This is true.
That's it. This is the bottom line. So, but yeah, it was a thing. And I remember, like I said, RTX was a fucking nightmare. And I flew to Sydney for that and paid for accommodation. And I remember, I actually met, what's his fucking name? It was the guys from Good Game were there, not Barjo. It was the other ones.
No idea.
Goose and them. and we'll just chat, and we're just like, this is fucked. And they're like, yeah, this is fucked. But like, it was just, everyone's just like, yeah, it's fucked, but we're in and we're doing it, you know? And I remember that what they ended up doing is like a lot of the staff, like the celebrities, because it's all about Roosterteeth, whatever. So people want to come and see the personalities and whatever. They're fans, right?
Yeah. See all
these people, they just fucking left the venue, went outside, and then people just went and had signing sessions out in the park because like it was just A, cooler, and B, just fucking just get other people out and separate them, and you know, people that missed out and whatever. Like they make the most of it. And I think that's the way. It's actually funny, because keep in mind, this was like 7 years ago, and I think original PAX was 10?
Oh, yeah, I think
10 years? Yeah. So, and not, like, I'm mindful of time, but like just one more story. So I was at PAX, first PAX. I think it was day 2. Rain was a little bit better. And we're lining up to go and see, it was the red versus blue panel. So it was for Roosterteeth as well. And we're lining up, and fucking Jeff Ramsey and Gus Arola line up next to me. And I'm like, what?
Next to you?
And I'm standing there, I'm like, that's them, right? I'm thinking, that's them. Anyway, I said to Jeff, because we were in line for a while. Like the panel didn't start for like another hour, and they'd been in there for like 15, 20 minutes. And I said to Jeff, I said, are you Jeff Ramsey? He's like, yeah. I'm like, this is your panel? Like, yeah. I'm like, I don't think you guys have to line up. I don't know. I'm just lining up like everyone else. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. And then they just stood there in line, and like I stood there with them, and I'm like, fuck, I don't even know what to say to them. Like I was just, because they were just so chill. They just lined up like everyone else. No one else expected the fucking stars of the show to be at the back of the line.
It was probably done as meant to be like a bit of a prank.
No. Because the fucking one of the enforcers came up and was like, guys, we've been looking for you. You need to go inside. It's like they would like, it got to the point where we were meant to go in and we weren't going in, and the reason we weren't going in is because the stars of the show hadn't showed up because they're at the back of the line. Oh, it's funny. It was a great the PAX 1 was like one of the best because it was so organic. Like it was just fucking the nerdiest of nerd fans were there. It's like there was you know, there's no fucking influences or anything like that going on. It was gamers for gamers. And and I remember, because that was PAX 1, the thing that happened was that right as it got up to like close to it is when they went out and they said, Xbox is like, yeah, we're going to come to PAX and show you the Xbox One. And everyone's like, what? Like, yeah, we're going to unveil it at PAX Australia.
It's pretty nuts.
And they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, but we're not going to show you. I think they wouldn't show us the console, I think. It was something weird like that. So we saw the controller, and they showed us the what's the fucking sensor bar thing called?
The Kinect.
Yeah, they showed us the new Kinect. They showed us the Kinect technology and stuff like that. So, so it was like they were out to beat PlayStation at that time for the PS4.
Yeah. And
so they came out first, and they was like showing all this stuff like that. So they'd only shown like demos of it, and then I think they showed us Kinect demo and the controller from memory.
Still more than anybody else got it around the world.
That's I think I can't remember exactly. Man, it's like 10 years ago. It was wild. But I remember like they had it in a glass case, and you could stand behind the red velvet thing and take pictures from a distance and stuff like that. It's kind of nuts. They also had the guys from Borderlands were there as well.
Yeah.
Gearbox were there in a big way. They did a whole heap of stuff, and like it was a really good event. But yeah, like I said, it was just the time of the year and the area that they did the best they could with it. But like, there was some trauma. And then after that, like every PAX after that, fine, really. Like lines, that's normal. Like, it happens. But like, I've never been to a PAX after that and gone, holy shit, they fucked up here. Like, it's never happened. It's just
a good standard PAX.
Just PAX, you know, it comes with the good and bad, but that's just con stuff. We never felt like, yo, we got ripped off here. We're not going to fucking get in like Crunchyroll, unfortunately. So, you know, we'll see how this all plays out. Like I said, the con, like as we're recording this, the con is finishing up right now. So they're wrapping up. No doubt, pack everything up, have a bit of a cry into their pillow, and then, you know, have a meeting tomorrow and probably figure out what they need to do. Probably get some lawyers involved. You know, they are a big company, and figure out what to do. And look, I really wanted to go and like help promo the event and stuff like that. I wasn't invited. I wasn't media or anything like that. I brought my tickets and supported the con and stuff like that.
Yeah, you always like to do your social stuff. Like,
Yeah, I wanted to spread the spread the good stuff, and not the bad, but it didn't work out that way. I hope that they do come back, but I hope they come back with a plan. You know, I don't want them to be like CrunchyRoll 2023, everybody. ... Like they need to come back and say 2023 guaranteed 50% less lines. You know, something like that.
Now with barriers.
Now with barriers. Now with wristbands. Now with fucking badges we've mail home, so you just have to walk in and get them scanned or something. Just
that would be fantastic. Like PAX. That's how PAX works.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's like
I got my PAX badge in my hand right now.
There was like you know, like I don't want to keep piling on Crunchyroll, but they did open up and you could go in Friday night and get your wristband. But then if you rocked up after 12 o'clock on Saturday with the wristband, there was no guarantee you're getting in anyway.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of people who got this.
So they just need to fix the fundamentals. I would like if I was in that situation, I would straight up just bomb everything that happened today, start again from scratch, go, all right, this is Crunchyroll, this is what I get. I think a queue room with entertainment, put some big screens up there, fucking get a fucking, you know, get a movie or a show or something like that to sponsor it, to play a trailer, do what fucking PAX does, sponsor the queue room, whatever. You know, put fucking a food van in there, something, give a charities thing, whatever. Just do something to make the getting into the venue easier, and then make it so everyone can get into the fucking venue and you're good. That's it. You know, it's like, doesn't have to be anything more than that. It's just really disappointing is the bottom line. You know, I'm not mad, just really disappointed.
We all know that's worse.
But yeah, I don't want them to come back and say, well, that's fucked, we're never doing that again. Certainly
keep doing it.
Keep doing it. Just get better. Yep. And look, honestly, the fucking $50-$60 a ticket or whatever. I mean, if guaranteed entry and like buying another space means that the tickets are $60 next year or $65 or whatever, just fucking do it. Don't you know? Don't skimp.
Exactly.
Just fucking do it. Oh man. Anyway, so that was our weekend, everybody.
Hope you enjoyed this immersive Crunchyroll podcast experience.
Yeah, I hope we were fair. I don't think we missed any of the real shenanigans. There was some wild shit that was on Twitter that we just won't go into because like there was some exaggerations going on for sure.
Oh, the one thing we did miss is apparently they ran out of toilet paper, and then people were getting warned that if they were going on day 2, they had to bring toilet paper with them.
No one was getting warned. Some random guy was warning one thing, and it's definitely a pun leading to the fact that they gave everyone the shits. All right, and on that topic, we're going to wrap things up. Shelby, are you going to stream this week?
Well, we got to set up the PS5 because I'm going to stream The Last of Us.
That's right. On the last podcast, we talked about how you don't play AAA games, and now you have to play The Last of Us.
Now you have to steal your PS5 and set it up at my desk and play some Last of Us. But once we do that, I'll set up some stream days and we'll get through it.
So streaming tomorrow, everybody. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh, good Lord.
Anyway,
yeah, maybe.
You find Shelby somewhere because she's not telling you.
Shell Bunny at Twitch or Shelby _ on Twitter. Those are generally the 2 best spots to find me, but I also have Shell Bunny on YouTube where I've been posting shorts now, but also the same shorts are also on my TikTok at ShellBunny94.
Wow. Well, you can find me everywhere at ZLBPodcast, including some lovely tweets when I was at my absolute finest moments during Crunchyroll. Have a look at that video of the approximately 1 kilometer long line. Oh, mama. Zombies, LV Bacon, pretty much everywhere. YouTube, everywhere. Twitter, Twitch, everything like that. We got a long weekend next weekend, so I'm planning to do some more streams and more content. Absolutely. Closer we get to PAX, expect more PAX activities. We'll talk about some of that next week. But yeah, you know, at this point, and I think the final thing we could say is we survived Crunchyroll 2022.
And if you also survived, tell us your story.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.